Shalom Aleichem, everybody. Hope all is well. Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon, is called the wisest man of all time. And we know the story of how, in previous videos we've spoken about this, the famous story of how Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon, how he became the wisest man of all time. To sum it up quick, because the story is always worth mentioning, because of the beauty of it and the lesson it teaches us, is that when Shlomo HaMelech was 12 years old, he assumed the throne. He became the king of Israel and succeeded his father, King David. And when he was 12 years old, the Almighty Hashem appeared to Solomon, to Shlomo, in a dream. He appeared to him in a dream. What happened? He said, Shlomo, ask me for anything you want and I will grant it to you. And what did Shlomo HaMelech respond? He responded with a tremendous response, to say the very least, and he said, Hashem, please give me the wisdom to discern between good and evil. Hashem was very impressed by how Shlomo responded, and he said, Shlomo, I will give you what you asked for, but not only that, I will also give you all the things you didn't ask for. You asked me for something so holy like wisdom and to discern from good and evil. I will give you that, and I will also give you a lot of wealth. Since you didn't ask me for a lot of wealth, but you asked me for wisdom, I will give you wisdom and wealth and a lot of wives and a lot of horses and a lot of gold and a massive empire. And he blessed Solomon in the physicality as well as the spirituality, of course. So we learn a lesson that we should always, by doing the right things in life, by choosing Hashem's ways, by following in Hashem's ways and choosing Hashem's path, we never lack. We get everything, whether in the physicality and the spirituality. We never lack by choosing Hashem. We only gain, to say the very least. So beautiful. So we see that Shlomo was granted what he asked for, and he became the wisest man of all time. Shlomo HaMelech he was extremely talented in explaining ideas in Torah to everyone according to their level. Much like Moshiach will be like that. So Shlomo HaMelech, we learned that he was able to give 2,000 analogies for every idea. And according to each person, there was 2,000 levels of analogies, and he was able to match which analogy would be the best for which person in order to allow them to grasp a certain idea. Now, you know in Torah, a lot of times Torah brings analogies and examples of the Son and the Father and the King and the servant. And all of these analogies are to get us into a deeper light. And we're not supposed to stop at the analogy, but to recognize the analogy is just reflecting the greater truth, Hashem's reality, the Torah. And so Shlomo HaMelech was a master at connecting to each person according to their level in order to allow them to grasp a Torah concept. So we see that this is an analogy as well for how we experience, for how Hashem causes us to exist in this world and how Hashem gives life to all of us. That Hashem is the ultimate teacher and the ultimate master. So we see, of course, Shlomo HaMelech reflects Hashem in many ways. That everything that happens to us in this world is an example, is a mashal, is an analogy that Hashem is trying to convey to us. Whatever happens to us, we have to open the eyes of our mind, the eyes of our sechel, the intellectual eyes that we contain within us, to look deeply into every situation that presents itself in front of us, to every situation that Hashem presents in front of us. Because each situation is an analogy, is a message, is a lesson that Hashem is trying to convey to each and every one of us. Just like King Solomon was able to take any idea and through examples was able to connect to each Jew, each student, and even the righteous Gentiles came to Shlomo, and he was able to teach them about Hashem, each according to their level. So to Hashem, every situation he puts us in is a lesson, is an analogy, is a mashal, is an example, something that he's trying to convey to us through that analogy. Whatever it may be. I'll give you an example. Your father does something very nice for you and he helps you. He does a beautiful favor for you. So you experience the love, the fatherly love that he has for you. So that's an analogy for Hashem, the Father of us all, how much he loves us. And we can get a glimpse of Hashem's love through us through the expression of our Father's love towards us. Or, if you have a child, your expression of love towards your child, you can get a glimpse of how Hashem feels towards us. And it's like that in every situation in this world. And there's a beautiful idea that the Rebbe Rashab explains in Vayadaita Moskva, a mimer, a discourse of the Rebbe Rashab that connects to this idea. It says that when the master, the teacher, the tzaddik has this deep idea in his mind and he wants to teach his student, he can't explain what he's experiencing in his mind to the student in the way that he experiences it in his mind. Because the way he experiences it in his mind is so complex and so refined and such a pure high level of appreciation for a deep divine concept. When he has to explain to a student, he can't explain it to him in his terms, because he may have all these codes and these different codes and understandings and deeper understandings that are much more refined. So when he wants to explain it to his student, he can't just speak it out the way he experiences it in his mind, but he has to contract his intellect and hide his intellect and only give the student a little drop at a time to allow the student to absorb. Because if he's going to start speaking to the student the way he experiences the details in his mind, the way the master understands the Torah in his mind, the student will be completely blown away. He'll be unable to experience anything. He'll just be hearing words and he won't understand anything at all. But when the master contracts his intellect and he hides the depth and he gives the student a little bit at a time so he can get there, just like King Solomon, give him one analogy, give him the next analogy, and then slowly build him up, then eventually the student will reach a place where he can actually appreciate the intellect of the rabbi as he experiences it in his mind. Of course, that takes time, and the Rebbe Shab explains how it's not always the case that even the student learns all the details. He won't understand as well as the master how refined it is in the master's mind. But in Vaydat Masfil it says that after 40 years of learning from his master, he can reach the place of his master. So these are beautiful ideas, and these are analogies for the Creator in regards to the Creator and our relationship. If Hashem was to reveal himself the way he is revealed beyond the world to us in this world, it would be completely overwhelming. It would blow us out of existence. Just like, and how much more so, the analogy of the teacher and the student. That if the teacher will just start speaking to the student the way he experiences it in his mind, the student will not understand anything at all. He'll be lost. So to us, if we were to experience right away a revelation of God, fully how Hashem is above the world, in this world, we would be lost. We'd be blown out of existence. But once we come down in this world, and Hashem gives us a little bit of Torah here and a little bit of Torah there, and gives us an analogy here and teaches us a lesson there, and comes close to us in this situation and blesses us here and makes us feel far there, but then brings us in even closer there. So throughout all these little experiences in life, it's like the teacher giving the analogies to the student. Little by little, he'll be able to reach a level where Hashem will be able to fully reveal himself to us, and we'll be able to appreciate it and internalize it. So this is a very important lesson in life, that we realize that actually the reason why Hashem hides himself at first glance in this world is really actually ultimately for the purpose of eventually revealing himself completely to us. That actually him hiding himself at times is the greatest kindness he can do for us, because if he was to fully reveal himself in certain situations to us, we would not be able to handle it. It would be totally overwhelmed, and we would not be able to even perform a certain commandment because of how in awe and how shaken, how shocked we would be by this revelation. But the more we work on ourselves, the more we refine ourselves, the more we involve ourselves with Hashem's will, the more we tap into this divine reality, the more we can handle. And eventually we'll reach a place where Hashem will be able to fully reveal himself to us. And not only will we not be in pain by it, but we'll experience the greatest pleasure of all. And that is because the Torah relates to physicality. The whole point of the Torah is to elevate the physicality. And as you see, Shlomo Melech actually said something very beautiful, and this connects to the Beis Hamikdash, the temple, the fusion, the intermediary point between heaven and earth, the temple, the Beis Hamikdash, which Solomon built the first one. We see that King Solomon asked a very beautiful question, if not mistaken, in Mishlei. He says, it's from the Mimer of the Rebbe Rashab called Ha'omnam, where basically King Solomon says, Hashem, the heavens and the heavens of the heavens can't contain you. That even in the greatest level of heaven, they can't experience a full revelation of God. It would be too overwhelming. They just experience a glimpse of God, a little ray, a reflection of God's light, so to speak, which is beyond words and is greater than any pleasure we can even dream of imagining, to say the very least. But still, what they experience in even the highest levels of heaven is just a little drop, a little glimpse, an infinity, to say the least, of no comparison to Hashem himself. So then King Solomon asks a question, says, how could it be Hashem that the heavens and the heavens of the heavens can't contain you, but this temple will be able to contain you? And basically there's a whole mimer and there's all the back and forths, and I suggest if you're interested you learn Ha'omnam by the Rebbe Rashab. But to sum it up in a way that relates to this video is that the answer is what Hashem's really interested in is in this physical world. Even the greatest levels of heavens that experience the greatest godly revelations compared to this world, they are just a step. They are just a way, the first step in the process of creating this world. Because Hashem is infinitely beyond even the greatest heavens. What He's actually most interested in is in this physical world, where we have free will, where we are physical, where we sometimes don't experience God, but yet in this world we turn to God. The angels and all the souls that are in heaven, they're automatically in awe and surrender to God. In this world we have free will, and we actually get to choose God. We go against the physicality, we go against sometimes the nature of things, and we choose God. We turn to God, we search for Him, we thirst for Him. That is Hashem's greatest pleasure of all, and that is why He's most interested in this world, and that is why He wants to reveal Himself fully in the temple, in this physical world. Even the heavens of the heavens didn't experience that, but yet this world will experience it. Why? Because this is His ultimate desire, the physical world. This relates to King Solomon because he built the first temple, and the Moshiach will build the third temple, and he will be a descendant of King Solomon, and he will be even wiser than King Solomon, actually. And Baruch Hashem, and we can appreciate this. We can also understand that in the Beis Hamikdash it was the fusion of physicality and beyond physicality, that we know that this world is defined by space and time. So too the higher levels of reality are defined by space and time. But the space and time in heaven is very different than on earth, and the different levels of Gan Eden and the Garden of Eden. Time and space work very differently there, but there's still some aspect of space and time. But from Hashem's perspective, past, present, and future are all one. There's no difference between past, present, and future. They're all united, unified, when it comes to it from Hashem's perspective. But we know that in the Beis Hamikdash, very interestingly, the physicality as we know it operated very differently. That when you looked at the tablets, Hashem's tablets, no matter where you were, you saw the front of the tablets. So there was defying of physicality. There was a miraculous events that took place. Also the ark, the space of the ark didn't take up any space in the Holy of Holies. That you had, that the room, there was as much space in the room when you had the ark there and when you didn't have the ark there. There was like the ark took up no space. You saw it there, but it took up no space in the room. It was miraculous. As well as they were all crowded, but when they would bow, automatically they all had space to bow in the temple, because there was miracles that took place in the Beis Hamikdash. Why? Because the Beis Hamikdash, although it was a physical place, there was the complete revelation of beyond the physical in that space. So we have to appreciate the fact that the only reason sometimes we experience a hiddenness of Hashem's presence is in order for Him to reveal Himself to us. And actually, as the Alter Rebbe says, when we find that Hashem when we feel far from Hashem, and we experience a distance from Hashem, and we feel, we don't feel His presence, that activates within us a thirst for God, and that actually brings us, when we thirst for God and we say, wow, Hashem, I want to be close to you, we use the distance to actually bring us close. We reach a far closer place to Hashem than we've ever been before. So may Hashem bless you all. Let us all reach this level. God bless you all. Thank you.